The Ideal Made Real, Chapter 15, When All Things Become Possible. When the mind is placed in conscious contact with the limitless powers of universal life, all things become possible, and faith is the secret. To have faith is to possess that interior insight through which we can discern the marvelous possibilities that are latent in the great within, and to possess the power to enter into the very life of the great within. To most minds there seems to be a veil in consciousness between the spheres of present understanding and the spheres of higher wisdom. And though there are many who feel distinctly that there is something greater within them, yet it seems hidden and they cannot discern it. Faith, however, has the power to perceive those greater things within that previously seemed hidden, and this is the reason why faith is the evidence of things not seen. Faith does not simply believe, it knows. It knows through higher insight, because faith is this higher insight. Faith is not blind, objective belief, but a higher development of consciousness through which the mind transcends the circumscribed and enters into the life of the boundless. When faith is active, consciousness is expanded so much that it breaks all bounds and penetrates even those realms that objective man has never heard of before. In this way, new truth and discoveries are brought to light, and this is how man gains the understanding of what previously seemed to be beyond his comprehension. When we define faith as that power in mind through which consciousness can penetrate into the larger sphere of life, we perceive readily why almost anything can be accomplished through faith, and we also understand why no one can afford to work without faith. When consciousness enters a larger sphere of action, its capacity is naturally increased, and the greater power that can be drawn upon in performing any kind of work increases in proportion. Likewise, the knowing how to work will be promoted in the same manner. To do anything successfully, one must know how to do it, and have the power to do what one knows should be done. And both these essentials are increased in proportion to the enlargement of consciousness. One of the principal metaphysical laws declares that whatever you become conscious of, you express through your personality. Therefore, according to this law, more life, more power, and more wisdom will come into actual possession in the personal life as we become conscious of more and more of these things in the mental life. In other words, the ideal is made real. The art of extending consciousness into the realms of unlimited life and power and wisdom is the secret through which all great attainments and great achievements become possible. But without faith, this enlargement of consciousness cannot take place, because faith is that power that perceives and enters into the greater things that are still before us. Faith looks into the beyond of every faculty, talent, or power, and perceives that there is much more of these same talents and powers further on. In fact, there is no visible limit to anything when viewed through the eyes of faith. Consciousness does not extend itself in any direction until it feels that there will be tangible grounds on which to proceed. you can become conscious only of those things that seem real. Therefore, to extend your consciousness in any direction, you must secure evidence of the fact that there is more reality in that direction. And here we find the great mission of faith. Faith supplies this evidence. Faith looks further on into the beyond and sees real reality at every step, and proves to consciousness that things not seen are thoroughly substantial. Faith discerns that there is no danger in going on and on, because there is solid ground all the way, no matter how far into the limitless we may wish to go. There is no danger of being lost in an empty void by following faith. Instead, faith gives us a positive assurance of finding more life, more power, more wisdom, and a fairer state of existence than we ever knew before. The practical value of faith is therefore to be found in its power to enlarge all the faculties and spheres of action in the mind of man. And as this enlargement can go on indefinitely, as there is no end to the visible, we conclude that anything can be accomplished by following faith. No matter how much wisdom or power we may require to reach the goal we have in view, we can finally secure the required amount through the perpetual enlargement of consciousness. This is evident, and since faith is that something in mind that leads consciousness on and on into larger fields of action, it becomes indispensable to all growth, to all achievements, to all high attainments, and to the realization of all true ideals. The man who has no faith in himself can neither improve himself nor his work. When nothing is added to his ability, capacity, or skill, there can be nothing added to the quality or the quantity of what he is doing. The effect will not improve until we have improved the cause. The man himself is the cause of everything that appears in his life. Modern psychology, however, has discovered and conclusively demonstrated that no faculty can be improved until the conscious sphere of action of that faculty is enlarged and thoroughly developed. Therefore, to promote the efficiency of any faculty, the conscious action of that faculty must become larger and imbued with more life. This is the fundamental principle in all advancement, but consciousness will not enlarge its sphere of action until it perceives that there is reality beyond its present sphere, and it is only through the interior insight of faith that the greater reality existing beyond present limitations is discovered to be real. The lack of this interior insight among the great majority is the principal obstacle that prevents them from becoming more than they are. Their minds have not the power to see the potential side of their larger nature. They are aware of the objective only, and can do only as much as the limited power of the objective will permit. But they are not aware of the fact that there is limitless power within, nor do they realize that they can draw upon this great interior power and thus accomplish not only more and more, but everything that they may now have in view. Not having the power to look beyond present attainment, the little world in which they live is all that is real to them. Occasionally there is a dream or a vision of greatness, but it soon fades away, and in those rare instances when the high vision continues for some time, the knowledge of how to make real the ideal is usually not at hand. The human race is divided into three classes. First, those who live in the limited world and never see anything beyond the limited. Second, those who live in the limited world but have occasional glimpses of greater things, though having neither the knowledge nor the power to make their dreams come true. And third, those who are constantly passing from the lesser to the greater, making real every ideal as soon as it comes within the world of their conscious comprehension. The last group is small, but there are millions today who are on the verge of a larger sphere of existence, and for this reason we should usher into the world at once a greater movement for the promotion of faith than has ever been known before. It is more faith that these millions need in order to enter into the beautiful life they can see before them. It is more faith they must have before they can become as much as they desire to be. It is faith, and faith alone, that can give them the power to do what this great sphere of existence may require. To make real the ideal in any life, faith must be combined with work, and no work should be undertaken unless it can be animated thoroughly with the power of faith. The reason why is found in the fact that all practical action is weak or strong, depending upon the capacity of that part of the mind which directly controls that action. And the capacity of the mind increases in proportion to the attainment of faith. To accomplish what we have in view, it is not only necessary to know how to go about our work, but it is necessary to have sufficient power, and faith is the open door to more and more power. The very moment you obtain more faith, you feel stronger. You are then certain of results, and the very best results. And the reason why is found in the fact that faith always connects the mind with the larger, the greater, and the inexhaustible. On the other hand, you may have an abundance of energy, but do not see clearly how to apply that energy in such a way that results will be as desired. Again, the remedy is more faith. Faith elevates the mind and lifts consciousness up above doubt, uncertainty, and confusion. When you go up into faith, you enter the light and can see clearly how to proceed. But in this connection, we must avoid a very common mistake. When we discover the remarkable power of faith, there is a tendency to depend upon faith exclusively and ignore other faculties. We sometimes come to the conclusion that it matters little how we work or think or act, so long as we have an abundance of faith, because faith will cause everything to come right. The fact, however, that we sometimes come to this conclusion proves that we have not found real faith, because when we have an abundance of real faith, we can see clearly the great truth that all thought and action must be right to secure results, and that all faculties and powers must be employed in their highest states of efficiency if we wish to make the ideal real. Though it is absolutely necessary to have the vision, still the vision is not sufficient in itself. After the vision has been discovered in the ideal, it must be made real. The principle must be applied. The new discovery must be worked out in practical action. But these things require both fine intelligence and practical skill. Faith without works is dead, because it does nothing, uses nothing, creates nothing. It is as if it were not. And works without faith are so insignificant and ordinary that they are usually very little better than nothing. But when work and faith are combined, then everything becomes possible. The power of faith is placed in action. Work becomes greater and greater, and whatever our purpose may be, we shall positively scale the heights. The great principle is to combine unlimited faith with skillful work. Work with all the skill that you can possibly cultivate, but inspire all your efforts with the mighty soul of a limitless faith. Become as learned, as intellectual, and as highly developed in mind as possible, but animate your prodigious intellect with the supreme spirit of faith. Faith does not come to take the place of art, skill, or intellect. Faith comes to give real soul to art, skill, and intellect. Faith comes to fill all physical and mental action with renewed life and power. It comes to open that door through which all our efforts may pass to higher and greater things. Faith is not simply for the moral and spiritual life. It is not simply for what is sometimes called higher endeavor. It is for all endeavor, and it has the power to push all endeavor with such energy and force that we simply must succeed, no matter what our work may be. The man who has faith in his work, faith in himself, faith in the human race, and faith in the Supreme, that man simply cannot fail. If he gives the full power of his faith to everything that he undertakes to do. We must eliminate the idea that faith is something apart from everyday life, and that it is something for the future salvation of the soul only. We have held to the belief so long that real faith has actually been separated from human existence, and we find very few people today who really know what faith actually is. The fact is that if you are not giving your faith to everything you do, be it physical, mental, or spiritual, you have not as yet obtained any faith. When faith comes, it never comes to give greater power to a part of your life. It comes to give supreme power to all of your life, and it comes to push all your work towards higher efficiency and greater results. When you have real faith, you never undertake anything without first placing your entire being in the very highest attitude of faith. Even the most trivial things you do are done invariably in the spirit of faith. This is very important because by training yourself to be at your best in little things, it soon becomes second nature for you to be your best in all things. And when you are called upon to do something of exceptional importance, something that may seem very difficult, you do not fall down. You are fully equal to the occasion. The more we exercise faith, the more it develops. It is therefore profitable to use faith at all times and in everything that we do. When we know that faith is that something that takes mind into the superior side of life and thus places in action superior powers, it is not difficult to understand how to proceed when we place ourselves in faith. As we think more and more of this higher side of our nature, this better side, this wonderful side, we gradually become conscious of its remarkable possibilities, and soon we can feel the power of superiority becoming stronger and stronger in everything that we do in mind or body. To develop the power of faith, the first thing to do is to train the mind to hold attention constantly upon the limitless side of life, that is, to live in the upper story of being, and to think as much as possible about the true idea of faith, as well as the interior essence of faith itself. When you begin to see clearly that faith is this higher development of mind, this insight that leads to higher wisdom, greater power, and more abundant life, you actually find yourself entering into the realization of those greater things whenever you think of faith. By concentrating your attention upon the inner meaning of faith, your mind becomes clearer, your faculties become stronger, and your entire being feels the presence of more life, and that you can do much better work while in this condition is too evident to require any more elucidation. While in the attitude of faith, you cannot only do your present work better, but you will steadily develop the ability and the capacity to do more difficult work that will prove more useful to the community and more remunerative to yourself. The world wants everything well done, and is more than willing to pay for good work. We are all seeking the best, and the majority aim consciously or unconsciously to give their best. But without faith it is not possible for anyone to be his best, give his best, or do his best. Do your best, and the best will come to you in return. The universe is founded upon justice, and justice will positively be done to you if you have faith in justice. Everything in life is moving towards greater worth, and since justice is universal, the greater worth of a man, the greater the value of those things that he will receive in life. The worthy soul is always rich in those things that have real worth, and when we learn to harmonize ourselves more fully with all the laws of existence, we shall place ourselves in that condition where we not only can give more that has worth, but will also receive everything of worth that actually is our own. Whether you are working in the commercial world, the professional world, the artistic world, the intellectual world, in brief, whatever your work may be, to have the best results you must have faith, and it is practical results in practical everyday life that determines how rapidly and how perfectly the ideal shall be made real in your own world. Whoever will do his present work as well as he possibly can, and continue to work in the highest attitude of faith, will positively advance and perpetually continue to advance. He may not have accomplished much thus far, but if he takes this course, combining efficient work with supreme faith, he certainly has a splendid future before him. If your present work is not to your liking, do not plan to change at once. First proceed with your present work in this higher attitude of faith. You may thus find your present work to be the very work you want, or your present work, if it is not what is intended for you, will become the open door through which you will reach that field of action that will be to your liking, providing you animate your present work with all the faith that you can possibly realize. Make yourself the best of your kind, whatever your sphere of action may be, because by doing so, you are not only increasing the number of great minds in the world, but you are adding immeasurably to the world's welfare and joy, and he who combines his work with limitless faith will become the greatest and the best in his sphere. In the application of faith, however, the whole of attention must not be directed upon the improvement of your work, but more especially upon the improvement of yourself. The more you improve, the better work you can do. But while you are improving yourself, your improvement will be incomplete and insufficient unless you each day practically employ in your work what you have developed in yourself. Give the power of every moment to greater attainment in yourself and to greater achievement in your present occupation, and you will fulfill that dual purpose in life that invariably leads to the heights. Develop more power, more ability, and more faith, and combine these in everything that you do. Through the power of faith, you will not only discern higher and higher ideals, but you will also give greater capacity to your practical ability. In other words, you will not only gain the power to see the ideal, but you will gain the power to practically apply what you have seen. You will make tangible in real life what the visions of the soul have revealed in the ideal life. And as you grow in faith, so great will this power become that there is no ideal you cannot make real. You will have placed yourself in touch with limitless power, the power of the Supreme, and therefore to you all things will become possible. The Ideal Made Real, Chapter 16. The Art of Getting What is Wanted. We frequently hear the statement, "I never received what I wanted until the time came when I did not care for it and did not need it." This statement may, in most instances, be based upon an unguided imagination, though this is not always the case, because there are thousands of people who have actually had this very experience. They never get what they want until the desire for it, as well as the need of it, have disappeared. There may be occasional exceptions, but the rule is that what we persistently desire, we sooner or later receive. Too often it is later, the reason being that most desires are purely personal and are not inspired by those real needs that may exist in the great eternal now. Mere personal desires are usually out of harmony with the present process of soul growth, and therefore there is no supply in our immediate mental vicinity for what those desires naturally need. This is the reason why more time is required for the fulfilling of these desires, and frequently the time required is so long that when the desire is fulfilled, we do not need it any more. When we desire only those things that are best for us now, that is, those things that are necessary to a full and complete life in the present, we shall receive what we desire at the very time when those things are needed. What is best for us now is ready in the mental world to be expressed through us. Every demand has its own supply in the immediate vicinity, and every demand will find or attract its own supply without any delay whatever. But the demand must be natural, not artificial. The average person is full of artificial desires that have been suggested by what other people possess or require. But the question is not what we need now to compete with other people so as to make more extravagant external appearances than other people. The question is, what do we need now to make our present life as full, as complete, and as perfect as it possibly can be made? Ask yourself this question, and your artificial desires will disappear. In the first place, you will try to ascertain what you are living for, and what may be required to promote that purpose of life that may seem true to your deeper thought on the subject. In the second place, you will realize that since it is the present, and the present only, for which you are living, you will concentrate your attention upon the living of life now. This will bring the whole power of desire down upon the present moment, and engage all the forces of life to work for the perfection of the present moment. The result will be the elimination of nearly everything that is foreign to your present state of existence. To know what to desire and what to ignore in the present may seem to be a problem, but it is easily solved by depending upon the demands of the soul instead of the demands of the person. The desires of the average person are almost constantly colored or modified by suggestions from the artificial life of the world. They are therefore not normal and are not true to real life. The desires of the soul, however, are always true and are always in harmony with the greatest good and the highest welfare of the entire being of man in his present sphere. It is the soul that lives. Therefore the soul can feel truly what is necessary to fullness and completeness in present life. Real life never lives for the past or for the future. Real life lives now, and therefore knows the needs of life now. It is the soul that grows and develops. Therefore the soul can feel what is required to promote present development. For these reasons it is perfectly safe to follow the desires of the soul, and those desires only. It will mean the best of everything for body, mind, and spirit, and the right things will appear in the right places at the right time. We live not to acquire things, nor to provide for an extravagant personal appearance. We live to become more than we are. We live to live a larger and a greater life perpetually. Therefore, every desire must desire only those things that are conducive to growth, advancement, attainment, and superior states of existence. The expression of desire, however, must not confound cause with effect, but must so place every desire that the power of cause invariably precedes the appearance of effect. To promote advancement in life, we must advance in our own conscious beings before true advancement in the external world can follow. Forced advancement is artificial and is detrimental to the permanent welfare of the soul. Do not push the person forward. Live to give greater expression to the soul, and you will develop all the power that is necessary to push the person forward towards any lofty goal you may have in view. Become more than you are from the within, and external environments, demands, and opportunities will ask you to come forward. Thus you promote true advancement. There are a number of people who believe that to follow the desires of the soul is to be led into poverty and hardships in general. But those who have this belief know practically nothing about the real nature of the soul. He who follows the desires of the soul will be led away from sickness, trouble, and poverty, and will enter into the possession of the best of everything, physical, mental, and spiritual. This is natural, because the ruling desire of the soul is to promote the attainment of greater power, greater ability, a larger life, superior qualities, and greater capacity, so that things may be done that are really worthwhile. The soul lives to unfold the limitless possibilities that are latent in the within. Therefore, to live the life of the soul and follow the desires of the soul is to become greater, more able, more competent, and more worthy every day. By developing greater power in yourself, you can overcome sickness and trouble, and by constantly increasing your ability, your talent, and your genius, you pass from poverty to abundance, no matter where you may live or what your work may be. The man who lives to perfect his entire being will naturally desire only those things that are conducive to the growth and the development that he is trying to promote, and such desires will be supplied without delay, because they are natural and they are in harmony with real life. This is the law. But every artificial desire that we may hold in mind interferes with the workings of this law, and since the average person is full of artificial desires, he usually fails to receive what is needed to promote the welfare of real life. Every desire that is held in mind uses up energy. Therefore, if the desire is artificial, all that energy is thrown away, or it may be employed in creating something that we have no use for when it does come. It has been very wisely stated that a strong mind should weigh matters with the greatest of care before uttering a single prayer, because most of the prayers of such a mind are answered, and should he pray for something that he cares nothing for, when it does come, he will have a burden instead of a blessing. The majority are entirely too reckless about their desires. They desire things because they want them at the time, but do not stop to think whether the things desired will prove satisfactory or not when they are received. And since we usually get, sooner or later, what we persistently desire, the art of knowing what to desire is an art, the development of which becomes extremely important. It is not an act of wisdom to pray for future blessings or to entertain desires that will not be fulfilled until some future time. When the future comes, you may have advanced so far or changed so much that the needs of your life will be entirely different from what they are in the present. Let every desire be just for today, and let that desire be prompted by the ruling desire of your life. That is, the desire to become a more powerful personality, a stronger character, a more brilliant mind, and a greater soul. Live perpetually in the desire that you will receive the best that life can give today, that all things will work together for good for you now, and that everything necessary to the promotion of your highest welfare will come in abundance during the great eternal now. Make this desire so strong that your heart and soul are in it with all the power of life, and let every present moment be deeply inspired by the very spirit of this desire. The result will be that the best of everything will constantly be coming into your world, and everything that may be necessary to make your life full and complete now will be added in an ever-increasing abundance. In this connection, we must remember that it is not best for anyone to pass through sickness, trouble, and misfortune. When people have misfortune, they sometimes console themselves with the belief that it is all for the best, but this is not the truth. though we can and should turn every adverse circumstance to good account. When you come into trouble, you have not been living for the best. You have made mistakes or entertained artificial desires, and that is why the trouble came. Had you lived in the faith that all things are working together for good, nothing but good would have come. And had you lived in the strong desire for the best, and the best only, you would have received the very best that you could appreciate and enjoy now. The belief that we have to pass through trouble to reach peace and comfort is an illusion that we have inherited from the Dark Ages, and the belief that we are purified through the fires of adversity is another illusion coming from the same source. We are purified by passing through a perpetual refining process, and this process is the result of consciousness gaining a deeper, a higher, a truer, and a more beautiful conception of that divinity in man that is created in the image and likeness of the Supreme. And it is well to remember that this refining process can live and act only where there is peace of mind, harmony of life, and joy of the spirit. Higher states of life do not come by passing through adversity, but by living the soul life so completely that you are never affected by adversity. The peace that passes understanding does not come from the act of overcoming trouble, but is the product of that state of mind that is so high and so strong that it is never moved by trouble. The greatest victory does not come through successful warfare, but through a life that is so high and in such perfect harmony with all things that it wars against nothing, it resists nothing, antagonizes nothing, pursues nothing, overcomes nothing. The life that is above things does not have to overcome things, and it is such a life that brings real peace, true joy, and sublime harmony. The belief that we have to fight for our rights is another illusion. Likewise, the belief that wrongs have to be overcome. The higher law declares, be right in all things, and you will have your rights in all things. Be above all things, and you will not have to overcome anything. Live in the spirit of the limitless supply, and you will not have to demand anything from any source, because you will be in the life of abundance. There is value in the silent demand, but it is not the highest thought. The highest thought is to desire with heart and soul whatever we may need now, and live in the absolute conviction that all natural demands are supplied now. Then we shall not have to make any demands whatever, silent or audible. A mental demand usually becomes a forced mental process, and such a process, though it may succeed temporarily, as all forced actions do, will finally fail, and when it does fail, the mind will not be as high in the scale as it was before. The highest state is pure realization, a state where we realize that everything is at hand for us now, and will be expressed the very moment we desire it in tangible possession. Here we must remember never to turn our desires into mental demands, but to make every desire an inward soul feeling united perfectly with faith. The highest desire is always transformed into a whole-souled gratitude, even before the desire has been outwardly fulfilled, because when the desire is high in the spirit of faith, it knows at once the prayer will be answered, and consequently gives thanks from the very depths of the heart. The prayer that is uttered through the spirit of faith and through the soul of thanksgiving, the two united in one, is always answered, whether it be uttered silently or audibly. The desires that are felt in such a prayer are inspired by the divinity that dwells within, and are therefore true to real life. They are soul desires. They belong to the present and will be fulfilled in the present at the very time when we want them and need them. When we fail to get what is wanted, our wants are either artificial or so full of false and perverted wants that the law of supply is prevented from doing its proper work for us. Under such conditions, it is necessary to ask the great question, what am I living for? Then eliminate those desires that are suggested by the world, and retain only those that desire the highest state of perfection for the whole man. It is the truth that when man seeks first the kingdom of the true life, the perfect life, all other things needful to such a life will be added. He who desires more life will receive more life, and with the greater life comes the greater power, that power with which man may create his own destiny and make everything in his life as he wishes it to be. In order to get what is wanted or what is needed, the usual process of desire must be reversed. Instead of desiring things, desire that greater life and that greater power that can produce things. First, desire life, power, ability, greatness, superiority, high personal worth, and exceptional spiritual attainments. Never desire definite environments, special things, or certain fixed conditions. Leave those things to higher power, because when higher power begins to act, you will receive the very best environments, the richest things, and the most perfect conditions that you could possibly enjoy. Desire real life first, and all that is beautiful and perfect in the living of such a life, in body, mind, and soul, will invariably be added. Follow the desires of the soul, and you will receive everything that is necessary, not only for the life of the soul, but for the life of mind and body as well. Seek the source of all good things, and you will receive all good things.